Hi, I'm Abby Paige Stevens, and this is Stitchin' with Abby. I'm here to share with you all of the latest and greatest projects that we have coming for you here at Stitchin Heaven. Today's project is a Quiltworx project, so if you have ever wanted to get into a Judy Niemeyer Quiltworx project, this is a great introductory project for you. I have my friend and coworker Tina here with me, and she is going to teach me how to put this project together. Please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can keep up on all that's happening here at Stitchin Heaven, and let's get stitching. Hi, and thank you for joining me here on Stitchin' with Abby as I share with you about a new project that we have here in the store. It's called the Quiltworx Prism Table Runner, and it's hanging here behind me, and it features the fabric collection called Tonga Merlot, and it's brought to us by Timeless Treasures. Now, I have never done a Quiltworx project before, and so I have brought my coworker and friend. She has done many projects, right?
A few, maybe about 14, 15, something like that.
So just a
That's
few.
That's what I started with.
Wow. So she is going to be sharing with me a little bit about what Quiltworx is and about the supplies that we need to start off. So can you tell us just a little bit about what is a Quiltworx project?
Okay, so Quiltworx is foundation paper piecing. I fell in love with these when I first saw one in a quilt store. And
they're very impressive.
And it was like, that's the quilt I want to do, and that's what I started with. It's very organized for foundation paper piecing. It comes with all your templates for your fabrics, your sewing papers, everything's included in this pattern.
In the pattern.
And when we do the kits here at Stitchin Heaven, we also include a Quiltster printout that shows where every fabric that you're getting in the kit is going to go.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
okay.
So now some basic supplies that you're going to need. Plastic template, this is a fold template to use your 1/4 rulers in. The one I like to use the best is this little small one.
It's cute.
Because I can have it right there at my sewing machine when we're doing small seams and stuff. Got my rotary cutters, trimmers, glue pens. There's 2 of them, your regular one like for fabric.
Okay.
And then this one here is a repositionable glue for paper.
Oh.
And you can put it on your pattern pieces. So when you're cutting out your pattern, especially the ones that have the curves and not just straight lines. Mm-hmm. And this is a new product by Acorn. It's a pen for starch, for liquid starch. You put it on your seam after you've done your seam before you press it, and it makes the seam lay really flat when you press it.
Okay, nice.
So it's refillable too.
Okay, fantastic.
So that's our supplies. A light table is useful if you have one of those to see your fabric through it, so you can see where you're placing your fabric. And that's our basic supplies, and we're ready to start sewing.
Great.
So when you start to use a Quiltworx pattern, on the back of it, there's a printed date. If you scan this QR code, it will take you to the Quiltworx website where you can see if there's been any updates to your pattern since the printed date. That's very important because some things, get caught later on. And so you want to make sure and get all your updates and corrections before you start.
Okay.
So, as we go through the pattern, it'll give you some general directions, piecing directions, general information, and everything is about organization with the Quiltworx patterns. So you're going to have everything organized into bags. It'll tell you which bags you need, what things go in the bags. So when you start cutting your strips and start cutting your fabric and your templates, you know exactly where it goes, because when you start sewing, then each section, you'll grab a bag and it'll show you exactly what you're sewing, what section you're doing, and then they'll build on each other.
Okay, this looks pretty involved, so I think organization is going to be key.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Your sewing templates and your cutting templates will come on newsprint, and you'll be cutting all these out and putting them into the bags that they belong in after you've labeled all your bags. This here is a sewing template. It tells you what units there are. It tells you your fabrics and corresponds with your cutting templates. And these sewing ones, you're just going to take your rotary cutter and you're going to cut about 1/8 of an inch from the from the line, from the solid line.
Okay, so we don't have to be precise or exact, it's
just about an
eyeball
eighth.
it.
You don't want it too far away because it's wasting fabric and stuff. You want it kind of precise, but just a little bit away from that line. Now, once you sew your fabric on here, then you're going to go back and you're going to cut on this solid line.
I see.
Before you put them together. But this is just, you're going to cut those all up. These are all unit Bs. I usually paper clip all the same units together.
Okay.
And put them in my bag.
All right.
So that's kind of some of the organization, and that just shows you a sample of the sewing templates.
Okay, thank you.
So Abby has labeled all the bags for us, and she's cut up all the templates, the fabric strips, and she's got everything ready to sew. So we're going to start with our Lone Star block.
Okay.
That's bag A. And we have done some of these ahead of time, but we do have one here that we're going to be working on. And these here we've done partially. They need one more row on them so that they can become this block here. This is the block we're going to be doing. And a good idea on your Lone Star, whenever you're doing a lot of strip piecing, and she does a lot of strip piecing in her patterns, is to put a little swatch of the fabric on there that you're going to be sewing in each of these rows.
Okay.
And sometimes it looks kind of confusing because you're going to end up getting this after you cut these apart.
Okay.
So, not before, but after.
Okay, so having these on here is going to help us keep track and make sure that
It's going to help you keep
the
track
right fabric goes in the right place.
Yes, that
okay.
you got the right fabric where it goes.
Okay.
So we're ready to start sewing with this one here.
Okay.
We'll just kind of move everything else out of the way here.
Okay, so this looks like we were actually cut out from a template shape.
Yes.
Okay.
So your first fabric is going to be here. This is your line 1. That's your first sew line. And so you're going to be folding. Grab a little fold template here. Okay, you're going to fold on line 1. That's going to be your sew line. And so your fabric's going to fit over that line. You want to make sure that you've got enough fabric out here to trim it off. And this is kind of where the glue comes into play, your glue pen. You flip it over and I just kind of dot it across here. And then this is here. And now you can trim that down so you're ready to put your second fabric before you sew. So you pull this back and you go ahead and trim that. You'll just take the add a quarter ruler here and trim it off. And now you're ready to add your second piece before you sew. Some of that glue came off there. Okay, so when you put your second piece, you'll see right here where the line is.
Okay.
That's what you're going to be covering. So you take your second piece here. I'll let you do that.
Okay.
You'll flip it over there.
So does it go this direction to match
the
shape?
The shape.
Okay.
So you're going to go ahead and just put it out here because this has to go with it. So like this is going to go on the edge of it. So you can
I see.
Yeah. And my glue keeps coming off. Now you can see where that fabric down here is going to cover this part here. And this is where your light table comes in.
Okay.
Because you'll be able to see that through there.
Okay.
And see, here's the end of it. There's the end of your fabric.
All right.
And you can just take your glue stick, your glue pen, and just glue along there.
So you actually glue in the seam allowance.
I glue in the seam, I just dot. There you go.
Okay.
We might have to glue that first one back on again. I don't think I got enough on there.
Okay.
And then you're ready to sew that first section. Now you want to make sure that your stitches are smaller because it's much easier to pull the paper off when you've got a smaller stitch length.
Okay, so we've got more perforation in the paper.
Yes, and you won't be pulling out your seams when you're tearing the papers off. So you want to go to about a 1.8, and so you're ready to sew your first seam.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're at our machine, and you're going to be sewing on the solid line. The dotted line on there is where your seam allowance is.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But you're going to be sewing on the solid dotted line. We're going to do line 1.
Okay.
We've got our stitch down to the smaller stitch, and we're good to go. So after it's sewn, now you have to get it ready for your next piece of fabric. So what you're going to do is you're going to iron it, you're going to fold it, you're going to add a quarter, and you're going to trim off the fabric.
Okay, that's the pattern.
So, not the pattern, no. So you come over here and let's iron it back, and we can use our starch pen.
So I open it up first.
Yeah, you can open it first, and see, we did cover our paper.
Very good.
Yay!
Yay!
So you just take that and kind of dab it along there, and it should start coming out. There we go. Just get it along that seam.
Make sure that's all the way open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then just press.
And just press. Let's press that back. Go ahead and press the whole thing. There you go. Make sure it's nice and flat. See how nice that seam looks?
Yeah, that's nice and crisp.
Nice flat seam there.
Okay.
And now we're going to add our next piece. So you've ironed. Now you're going to flip your pattern over. We're going to fold it. So you're going to need your template. We're going to be doing it on line 2 now.
On the solid line.
On the solid line you're going to fold. Get you a nice fold there. I need a longer template, I guess, for these.
That's right. We'll make it work.
We're going to add our quarter. I like to leave the template in so it gives the add a quarter ruler something to hold on to. And then you're going to trim, let's pull it up a little bit here. And you're going to trim it off. There you go. Okay, so now you've trimmed off your excess, and now you're ready to add your next piece of fabric. So go ahead and you can leave it like this. Take your next piece.
Let's make sure that we get the right one. So this fabric here.
Okay, you want to go ahead and lay that down. Let's go ahead and take our template out. We don't need that anymore. And you can kind of audition and see where that's going to go. So you see your and some people like to go ahead and mark these lines on the wrong side of the template. It just kind of shows them, okay, here's where my fabric is going to be.
I see.
Especially if you don't have a light box, that's a really good idea to mark them on there. But you can see here.
Yeah, I can see it pretty well here with the light box.
Yeah, you can see here's our next piece, and it does cover.
Okay.
So now you're ready to go ahead and take your little glue pen and just dot it with glue there. And what I like to do when I'm doing these, if I have more than one piece, which you will, you'll have 4, 8, or 12, is I like to get them all set up ready at the same time and then chain piece.
Chain piece, yeah.
Because that saves a lot of time to do it that way.
Okay.
Okay, so now you're ready to go ahead, fold this back, and you can see where we've got our seam allowance in there, and you're ready to sew on line 2.
Okay.
Yeah, the chain piecing just makes it go a little faster. Okay, great. We've got one more row to add on to there, and then we can trim and show you how the Lone Star block goes together.
Okay.
So go ahead and iron. And we do have, Quiltworx does have a lot of patterns that are based with the Lone Star block. There's a Prismatic Star that is basically this block here, just repeated over and over. We just did a kit called Diamonds in Bloom. that also, it's in the blue fabrics and stuff from Timeless Treasures, really pretty. And it's like a big exploding Lone Star. Remember the steps?
Okay.
Okay.
So I put this side down.
Yep.
I'm gonna fold my paper back.
Yes. There we go.
Okay, and now I'm gonna add a quarter,
You're
right?
gonna add your quarter.
And trim. Oops.
Oops.
That was not a good trim. There we go.
There, you got it. And now we're ready for our final strip.
Okay. So I can see how this kind of gets in like a rhythm.
Yes. Yeah, I usually have my cutting mat on one side of me and my pressing mat on the other side. So I'm just going round and round at my sewing machine. Yep, your fabric is gonna.
I'm covering all around
you're covering
all the edges.
all your edges.
Okay, so I'm gonna glue, right? Nope, I still have the lid off there, so it's ready to go. So I'm gonna say right now that I think the nice thing about using the batik is that I don't have to worry about which side is right side up.
No, you don't.
I could see with the print maybe that would get a little more tricky. Okay. So now I'm ready to sew, right?
You're ready to sew the
okay, here we
final
go.
line, and then we're gonna trim and.
Okay, so I've got the last piece sewn on here.
And you're ready to iron that over.
Press that open.
And we've covered the paper completely.
Yes. Okay, so I'll trade you spots here.
Okay. For those of you that do want to get into some Quiltworx patterns, we do have quite a few retreats. We've got one coming up next week with Dinner Plate Dahlia, taught by Sandra Coffey, our certified instructor. I'll be assisting her, and I'm working on my certification too.
Which I think is amazing. It's
Yay!
an involved process.
Yes, I've been wanting to do it for a number of years, and we have quite a few patterns available, different ones. Okay, so now we're ready to do our trimming.
Okay.
So you're going to turn it over, and the first thing I do is I trim all the way around it first.
Okay.
And you can use we'll probably need a longer ruler than this, but you're going to just be putting it on that line and trimming it, and you want to make sure that you trim these smart corners up. Because when you start matching up things, the smart corners match up perfectly.
Okay.
So we trim that, and then we'll cut it into strips.
Okay. All right, so I've got that trimmed all the way around, so what is the next step?
Okay, so the next step is you're going to cut on these lines here. Part 2, cut line 1, part 2, cut line 2, part 2, cut line 3. These are going to make our blocks for the Lone Star unit. Now when you flip those over, you can see you have your little Lone Star unit.
Wow, look at that. Okay.
Okay, and so now we'll pull these out. These are the ones that are already done. And now you're going to add one of the rows. I'm just going to add right here. I kind of tagged that one so we would know which one to start with.
Okay, so how do I know which direction? Will it only go one direction?
It'll only go one direction.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and cut that little smart corner there. So you're going to have to go this way here. You can see how that'll line up. And so that's going to line up here and line up here. And I usually just pin these. And then I go ahead and keep the paper on, especially something like this on one side because you've got bias.
Oh.
And
so that'll help keep it stable.
Yeah, that helps keep it stable, and then you can tear the papers off afterwards.
Okay.
So we're going to stitch that one on. Okay.
Okay.
And so then when you press it open, your little points there are matching, and you've got it ready to make a Lone Star. You've done one unit of it now.
All right. Okay, so I finished pressing my last piece open.
Yes.
So now I see one similar, but now we've got borders on, right?
Yes. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to add your borders onto all of your Lone Star blocks. We've got 4 of them. And you'll see here in the quilt, or the table runner, here's these 4 pieces here with the borders. And we're ready to move on to our next piecing, which is section B. Okay, so now we're going to work on section B, which is this part here and this part here. And these are actually 2 different sizes. So you want to make sure when you go back to the book to assemble that you get the right size.
Okay.
So this is our unit B1 right. And I always stack the templates in the order that you're going to sew them. So we've got section 1, section 2, section 3. So we're going to sew 1 and 2 together first.
Okay.
And then we're going to put section 3 on there. So you're basically going to line up your section 1 onto here. You want to make sure everything's covered. You can glue this down and then fold this back and do your trim to put section 2 on there.
Okay.
And this is where I like my little add a quarter on that one. And we'll grab the template sheet here.
Just gonna put a little dot like that. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay. And then I'm gonna fold this back.
And again, we're working with batiks, and so right and wrong side, if you're doing it with a regular cotton, you would make sure that your right side was facing down there, because you want your wrong side to the papers. Okay.
All right, so that's trimmed. We got piece 1 on.
Yes. And so now you're going to add piece 2. If you fold that back, you're going to see where it's going to be, and yeah, you can see how it's going to cover right there. Okay, so you're ready to put your glue on there to hold it. Some people use pins, some use the glue stick. I like to use the glue stick.
That's fast and easy.
Yes, then you don't have to worry about running over a pin either.
Right.
So now you're ready to sew line 1.
Okay.
Go through the same process that we did before with the ironing.
Okay. Use my starch here. This is kind of nice. It gives it a little bit of a finger press.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that that's completely open.
There you go, and you can see that you've covered your full section there.
Yes. Okay.
And you're ready to add the next section onto it.
Okay. All right, now I'm turned around, Tina. Okay, so I need to fold my paper back.
Yes, very good. Iron, fold, add a quarter, trim.
Okay, so what happens when you've overstitched and...
Overstitching is good.
Yes.
Because then you just pull it back, just tear it, and that's also going to trim your little threads.
Oh, okay.
So
no big deal?
No big deal there. And you're going to be tearing off that paper anyway. Okay? And we've got section 3 right here.
Yeah, that's clearly going to cover that section.
You're going to cover that section there.
Okay. Glue that.
And another little tip that I use with my glue pen, I didn't bring it today, is I keep a little cup with a damp paper towel in the bottom of it to throw my glue stick in.
Oh, so you don't have to worry about the lid on and off?
Yes.
Oh, that's
And so
clever.
that way you can just take it out of there. Just don't leave it in there overnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to sew here on line 2, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You're going to sew on line 2. And we're ready to iron that over.
Okay.
Look how pretty those colors are.
They are so pretty.
We are ready for fall. It is September.
Yes,
it's the burn months. It's time.
time. Especially after this summer.
Yes.
It was scorching this summer. Okay.
Okay, your unit's complete. You just need to trim it.
Okay. So I'll trim around.
You trim all the way around there.
All the way around the
and
edge.
we're going to be adding another unit onto here. So you've got this little unit here. That's what you've done. And we have to add this unit onto it to make our our piece that goes in.
Okay.
Okay, so Abby has finished sewing up section B, the 2 pieces to it. These 2 sew together to become this unit here, and then we put the trims around that.
Sounds easy enough.
So we have probably, I think there's 8 of those units to do. And just remember, some are smaller, some are larger. There's a guide in the book that shows you where they're placed at.
Okay. All right, so we have A and B bags and sections put together. So now we're into section C. What's next?
Section C is like a candy stripe border, and there's 4 of these on there, and they're basically done the same way as our Lone Star was done. It's strip piecing, comes out looking like this. You're going to be cutting them apart, and then we're going to be sewing them on our B section after we put the border on the B's. And we've got another little piece up here, another little trim piece that goes. And so we're almost ready to start putting all our components together.
Okay, I'm excited.
Yes. Okay, so after an afternoon of sewing, we have our components ready to put together. And in the book, there will be a layout sheet that shows you all the units that you've sewn. Once they go together, you've got a border that goes around them, and you'll have a table runner.
All right, well, that doesn't seem quite as intimidating as it did at first.
No, just follow step by step by step. Organization is key, and just follow along.
Well, thank you so much for coming and helping me put this together. It's been really, really fun to learn and experience this, and I have a feeling if some of our watchers get started on this, they're also going to become Quiltworx junkies and want to try one of the bigger projects. But I think this is a really great way to get started. Thank you, and again, we want to remind you to please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can keep up on all that's happening here in Stitchin Heaven, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.